that one word moniker that we adopt for a year. And about 10 years ago, the word came to me, expansion. And that's what I live for, is looking at how to touch as many people as possible, how to learn from as many people as possible, and to be able to have this. Will Rogers from the 20s had a saying, "There are no strangers, just friends that I have not met yet." And I live by that. I get on airplanes and I just want to know who that person is beside me. And we'll have a 2-hour flight, and I may say 2 sentences during the 2 hours, and they get up and they go, "You're such a great conversationalist."
Welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast, where we get to meet great people from around the world. And if you've ever met a connector, this is a person who sees around corners, sees opportunities by having an interaction with one person, keeping them in their Rolodex. And for those who don't know what a Rolodex is, it's kind of a list of phone numbers, names, and contacts. Keeping this person in mind and then meeting somebody else and going, wait a minute, these two people need to meet. Gary is a great example of somebody who lives and breathes connecting with people. We've already had a conversation together, and I think I've already got my inbox is filling up with people that's associated with Gary that he knows would be a great fit for me and what I'm trying to do. I love meeting great people like this. It's an inspiration for me and something that I'm attaining to and working towards. And having time with Gary is going to be great. We're going to talk about his books today, but we're going to talk to him in the future about other things as well. Gary, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. So glad to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much. It's my privilege. And I just want to say birds of a feather flock together. The very first time we had a conversation that was supposed to go just a few minutes, and we kept going and going and going. And, it's when you know it's easy to connect, it's a good connection. And so it's my honor to be here with you today.
Excellent. Gary, tell everybody where you are. Where do you live?
Denver, Colorado, out in the suburbs. We're suburbanites. I don't think I've ever lived in city of any place I've ever lived. Even when I was in Southern California, it was always on the outskirts. But we're in Denver, Colorado.
Now, we could have a 12-hour podcast just to talk about your life and where you've been and what you've done. And it's fascinating. Every part of it is fascinating, Gary. But for those who haven't met you yet, A, they need to, but B, can you just kind of give us a quick introduction to who Gary is? Because there's so much we can talk about. But give us a kind of an overview.
I'm a weird duck. I started out, I came from a very abusive background, but I was on the wrong side of the tracks. And I grew up in Palm Springs, California, and I was one of the servers, not the served. Went to college, drove a destruction derby car back in the day out there. My major in college was psychology and theology, so I argued with myself from a very early age. I was a square peg in a round hole, so obviously I went into real estate. I was selling real estate to put myself through school, and then built one of the very first financial planning firms in the country. I ran it for 30 years and sold it about 15 years ago, and people wanted to know how I did what I did, so I started, inadvertently, I guess, the coaching practice. In '88, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and was told I would be dead or in a wheelchair, which means I'm ornery because I'm still here. I say I am the best-looking dead man walking you have ever met. Had another doctor telling me I was going to die 6 months later with something else. So it was just like, hey, things come in three. And, I may have outlived both of them. But I've climbed mountains. I've flown a P-51 World War II fighter. I am not an adrenaline junkie. But I'm credited now with 9 books. I've spoken over 1,100 times throughout my career. I have coaching clients. I'm a business coach and sales strategist. People ask me what I am. Am I a business coach or am I a life coach? And I say I'm a business coach that includes life. And that whole thing can be wrapped up into a very short sentence saying I'm the kid next door. And that means anything I have done, you can do. It doesn't put me down, but it elevates everybody on the same platform and said, "Hey, let's go play."
When you say I'm the kid next door, there was a little bit longer version of that sentence and it changed. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it was just a couple of months ago. I had said forever when I started doing the kid next door, I'm just the kid next door. And I had what I call the nudge. And that nudge said, "Why are you just?" And a
Mm.
wordsmith type of guy looking at the words and what they mean and how do we take it in and what's the reaction to it. And I went, holy cow, because I'm in the process now of writing book 10, and I didn't want to do that. And I had that same nudge come to me and say, write another book for 4 days. And I said, no, I'm done. I don't like, I'm a speaker that has had to become a writer. And on the fifth day, he came to me and said, write another book, and here's the title. And so we have all the URLs and all the legalities now, but the book is going to be, or it is called, it's just not out yet, Overcoming You. And that just is connected, overcoming me. So I'm not just, you're not just. We all have this intrinsic value at a very high level if we'll just engage with it.
How is that word just causing us to be unjust to ourselves?
It's conditional.
Yeah.
And when anything is conditional, it's like I have a very strict rules at my program, and anybody around me. And I actually heard you say it earlier on the show today, and I don't usually call it out early, but the word is try. On my
Mm.
license plate on my car, it says no try. And
Mm.
so when we say I'm going to, I'm trying, I'm just, any of these conditional words, we're programming literally our subconscious to say, oh, okay. Because we're not believing ourselves. We're putting ourselves in a box that was not there. It doesn't have to be there.
Right.
And it's something that I think, unfortunately, our society, whether it be school, church, friends, family, they want us in that box a lot of times out of control. You look at politics, no matter what country, I mean, it's just crazy stuff. And people want you to not rock the boat and to stay in line. And think about it, in Canada, I'm thinking it's probably the same way, where you had to raise your hand for permission to go to the bathroom or to speak
Right.
or to whatever. I, how well does that work? It's just
Hmm.
we have this innate right to be seen, to be heard, but we don't have the right to take that away from anybody else. So I can have my seat at the table without taking your seat at the table because my seat is only my seat. And so that is that acceptance of value that allows us to truly sit in the quality and the abilities that we have and to engage with it and benefit from it.
So if we avoid those tries and those justs that seem to disqualify us in terms of what's a potential for us, if we walk away from those things and think differently and speak differently, then kind of what are some of the outcomes that we can anticipate if we have a new mindset around those?
What it does is it allows us to communicate in a different way. Now, we in our previous conversation, I just had my hip replaced.
Right.
I don't want the orthopedic surgeon saying, we're going to go in and try to get your hip, in. And we had, no, I want, and what he said, we're going to go in and fix you. We're going to go
Nice.
in. Now, is there a variable? He also told me there's a possibility that there were things that could go wrong and whatever. And it was, no, go in and fix me. That's why I've always said I don't want a surgeon to go in and say, we're going to do exploratory surgery. You're just going to go in and wander around. You're just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And so it's not overconfidence, but it's standing in our value. It's standing in what you actually know. And without the caveat of saying, I know the finiteness of what I know. So there's no existential learning. So I have always, developed into my style of I'm looking for better questions than I'm looking for answers. And
Hmm.
my whole style in dealing with people is I'm asking questions. I want to know about them. And it's amazing how people light up when they actually know that you want to know who they are and what they have done. And you find amazing people out there. doing amazing things that you go, well, when are you going to tell somebody about it? When are you going to write a book? You know, we're on a book program.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, every single person I meet, write a book. Because in the book that I recommend, always the first is the book about you. How did you get to where you are?
Right.
Because that's a book that my boys come to my programs to hear me speak, to tell stories that I thought I had told them. And so when you're writing a book about you and your journey, now that's for future generations. That's for other people to get permission to do what you did. And it's an instant celebrity as well, which is unique. I have no idea why that is. I just know it's true.
So if I say to you, I'm just trying my best, I've used two of the words in one sentence that makes this kind of go, hmm. And I like the confidence that a doctor doesn't come in and go, well, I'm just going to see what I can do. I'm not really sure. I'm just trying. That doesn't really bode well for me as a patient to know you're just trying. I want confidence. I want to feel safe with you, that you are confident in your ability to help me, right? And that can show up in anything that we do.
Yeah. And so let me give you a sentence that you're going to have a party. Let's say it's your birthday party, Saturday night.
Okay.
Your
Yep.
best friend, you say, will you come to my party? And they say, we're just going to try to make it. Are you
Yeah.
expecting them?
No.
And so what happens when we do it to ourselves, we're
Right.
telling our subconscious that we're really not intending to pay the price, to go the mile, to do whatever it is to complete it. It could be a wannabe, it could be a good thought, and it also could be something that we want to be liked by somebody by saying, "Oh yeah, we'll try to make it," and just saying, "No, we're not going to be there. It doesn't fit, whatever." And so it's that honesty within ourselves that comes out. Then, yeah, I'll be there for you, and you look forward to it. Those type of things is different than I'm just going to go try it. Sports is another thing. Anybody that's ever played any kind of sport that had a coach never had a coach, and if they did have a coach that said this, they should be fired. They didn't say we're going to go out and try to win. They always said we're going to go out and really do this. We're going to come away with a trophy, knowing that somebody was going to lose.
So the words that we say to others and the words that we say to ourselves, they matter.
They do. Words do matter.
There you go. And as authors, we take those words and we put them on paper and put them out into the world, and it becomes a platform for us. And I know that you are a great collaborator and a connector, and you attend great meetings where not only are you a participant listening to content, but you're also actively working in the room to make connections. We talked about this before, and that was inspiring to me. When we get up on stage and share our message, whether we're talking through about our book or about our coaching or mindset, how are you connecting with people in public? And kind of what is your intent when you go to an event, when you go into a meeting? How do you show up?
That's a great question, Dave. The thing that I go is with an open mind without an agenda.
Okay.
I shouldn't say it that way. My only agenda is to connect with people and to hear stories behind the stories, because I truly find people so interesting, where they've been, what they have done, what makes them tick, all of those type of things. And when people really know that you care about them, not for what they could do for you or what they have done, but that you really care about them as a human being, they will come towards you. And I look at what I do is, even when I'm in my book, it's not, I am the subject, but I am not the message. And that's how I've written all my books. The first book is actually about the story and the process I went through with the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. But it's not a multiple sclerosis book. At the end of each chapter, I wrote action steps of all the things, the techniques, the things that I did to get through that part of the story. So it can be applied to relationship, marriages, business, health, whatever a person is going through with adversity. And that's frankly the number one reason. It's the number one talk title that I am been asked to give. In fact, TEDx called me to do TEDx about that book. They read the book and they said, "We want you as one of our two celebrities to kick this whole thing off because of that book." And it wasn't even on my agenda to do TEDx.
Where there's people actively trying so hard to get onto that platform, and then they're reaching out to you. That's an indicator, Gary, someone's on the right path, right?
Well, again, I'm safe.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
mean I'm perfect. Please, I
Yeah,
don't want anybody to think I'm perfect. Just ask my wife. After
yeah,
51 years, I'm still saying I'm sorry. It's just one of those things. But when we are truly showing up to serve, not to sell,
yeah,
to
yeah,
connect, to have a relationship for whatever level that somebody else is ready for, and we can't be friends with everybody. It's not what I'm talking about. But,
yeah,
it's one of the things that I talk about at my business boot camp is the three words around love or the three meanings around love. Because you'll see people, entertainers, and they'll have 50,000 people in an arena and they go, "Oh, I just love each and every one of you." You go, "Really?" Well, there's three Greek words that we know about. And what they're saying there is called agape.
yeah,
I just so appreciate you being there and supporting me, and you're enjoying it, and thank you so much. The second phrase of love is familia, which is your family, whether it's your biological or the family you choose. A lot
right,
of times it's the family you choose more than the family you're born with. And then the third one is eros, which is the erotic. It's the
yeah,
sexual love. But when we are writing, it's really important for us to communicate what it is and then explain sometimes some of the meaning behind that. Because if we don't, they can go down whatever road they relate that word to, and they may miss the message.
and again, words matter, context matters, so we know on the right page with them. So, okay, I got to talk about the title of this book, How a Beaver Saved My Life. Now, that's not a title of a book that I would anticipate coming from you, Gary. Can you give us a little behind the scenes about how a beaver, because in Canada, beavers are a big deal up here, how a beaver saved your life? Can we
Yeah.
talk a little bit about this?
Oh, I'd be happy to. In 1988, there was not a lot known about MS and what to do with it. Living in Colorado, 1 out of every 1,000 people here have been diagnosed with MS. They don't know why or wherefore about the why that is. But anyway, I had gone the first episode. I totally went numb from the neck down. I had lost all feelings and a lot of coordination. It was an interesting, time. And so I knew about Norman Cousin and his laugh therapy. And I knew about back in the day, the video game with Pac-Man would come in, they would visualize eating up the bad cancer cells and all that. And I really didn't relate to any of those. And I was laying in bed and I was going, okay, what could I, use here? And all of a sudden, an image of a beaver shows up. And I'm going to give you the short version. That beaver turned around and took his tail and started patching up the myelin sheath, that coating around nerves that dissolves, and that's what causes all the problems. And went, oh, okay. Well, the next night he shows up. And so I started spending anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours a night with this beaver. Well, if one beaver is good, more is better. So I created a whole army of beavers. I had foremen, I had workmen, I had all these beavers working around the clock, patching up the myelin sheath. And the first neurologist I had thought I was totally crazy. And then I felt guilty about just taking from the beavers, and I expanded the visualization. I built churches and shopping centers and parks and housing and all that. So I had a whole city of these beavers working around the clock. All the while, I was still numb from the neck down without a guarantee, because the only thing that the medical field had for me at that point was steroids. And I played football, and I knew I didn't want to go down that road. And so it took about 6, 8 months before things started changing, but I started getting some of the feelings back. And I have stone hands. I have very little feelings in my feet and my legs. So I don't do some of the activities I used to do. because it'd be stupid. But it was right in the middle of my financial planning career. Now, people don't want to give you money if the doctor says you're going to die. And
Right.
so I didn't tell anybody. It was just like an inconvenience. And then just like, they thought I walked weird or I'd bump into the wall and, it's really strange. And it was about 17 years ago when I sold the practice that people said, write the story. And I went, nobody's going to want to hear this story. It wasn't anything. And here's, I want your listeners to really hear this. What you see, what I see as ordinary, other people will see as extraordinary. What we see as ordinary, others will see as extraordinary. And so I truly, to this day, I don't think I did anything really special. I just did things. I had an alternative, and I just took the road most or least traveled, and wrote the book. And that's the title that you just gave it was not the original title. And this is where words do matter. And the original title was Into the Night, The Road from Adversity to Triumph. And so I was getting all kinds of hits for romance novels and country songs, all kinds of things. And my coach at the time saw it, and I told him about it. And a woman had sent me a 3.5 foot stuffed beaver. He got so excited. He goes, "We're going to change the title to How a Beaver Saved My Life." And this is the cover. And so
Nice.
it's really about the experience with the beavers. And now it's the number one. It's taken me to all the major networks and all that other stuff. And Big Buddy Beaver has become an ambassador, and he has his own Facebook profile now. So it's just a fun connection. But that's where the first book started.
And you say that the book opens doors for you as an author. We have authors that listen to the show, Gary, and they're dreaming about having a published book as part of their future. They're in the process, they're working on it. But the idea that they could have time with you and get a little inspiration about their journey, how can we encourage them today as an author?
The big thing is throw up on a computer page, whatever it takes, just get it out and let other people, finesse it. Because for me, using a voice actuated software, it's not going to translate well if I just transcribe it. But to honor your story, because your story matters to someone. It doesn't matter. It's like the prayer that I prayed before doing any of these things. I did a show this morning is let me touch one. I don't know who it's going to be. This book has gone around the world. In fact, sometimes these books, I never get them back when I loan them. People have driven hundreds of miles to pick up these books from my old office because they were leaving town, and I said I could mail them to you overnight. They go, we don't want to, take the chance that they don't get here. We've got people. So I don't know who has been touched by this. The other thing, as you can see, this is not a War and Peace
Yeah.
type of book.
No.
It's about 120, 130 pages, and people started calling the book an airplane book. And I said, what the heck is an airplane book? They go from LA to Denver. I can read it. I go, aren't you going to spend any more time with that? And they go, if it was any bigger, we would not buy it because we don't have the time. And so it's giving our information to people in the way they want to assimilate it as well. But the title is The Pattern Interrupt. And there's something about being an author that makes you credible and safe for interviewing, TV, uh, even in summits and on stages for conferences. If you have a book, and there's a way to use the book actually to elevate and separate yourself from other speakers. But what it is people want to know. They want to take a piece of you home. You're not going to be J.K. Rowling's most likely. So you're never going to make millions and millions of dollars with your book. You'll make a little bit. But truly, this is a business card. And I think you and I had talked about that when somebody, hands you a business card and you give a business card to someone else, odds are it's going to go into a drawer or it's going to go into recycling or the trash can. When was the last time you threw away a book?
Right.
It truly gets recycled. It goes to a library. You can sell it back to Amazon. You do whatever. In fact, my last book, my ninth book, my publisher that I use for cleaning up my stuff, I am the publisher, but she does all the background work, had bought it from Amazon as a used book. And inside of that book was an inscription I had written to somebody at an event, evidently, because it was personalized. And, it's just like, and, something, oh, doesn't that make you mad that somebody sold your book? I go, no, they either got what they needed out of it or they didn't need it anymore. And they put it back to the universe so somebody else could
Yeah.
get that benefit.
Right.
And so,
That's smart.
but yeah, titles are really important in books.
So you have the book out in the world. People are reading. People are responding. People are sending you a beaver, so that you have one. Like that's when you can connect with somebody like that and people respond in that way. That's got to be very meaningful. In the process of writing, you don't really know how this book is going to connect. And like you said, it's just my story. Like who's going to be interested in this? But there is a lot of interest in your story.
Well, going back to what we were talking about on the kid next door,
Yeah.
by doing this, it gives other people permission to go out and take the risk. Because everybody says that speaking is the number one fear in public, agreeing to be judged. I find that people are as afraid to write a book because everything in here is in print. You can't change it after it goes out of your hand.
Yeah.
Most likely, you're not being transcribed when you're on stage.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's intimidating, but I find people that really are intimidated by the book because of that finality that, oh, it's in black and white now. But that's where we have to have faith and we have to let go.
So a book can open doors for you to get on stage, get in front of people, be able to share the message beyond what's written beneath the pages. What kind of opportunities came to you as a result of your book? With that, maybe you didn't really anticipate right from the beginning, possibly.
Well, one was the TEDx that we already talked about.
Yeah.
I was speaking in LA 30 days after we had changed the title of the book.
Yep.
And there was a PR director of a PR firm from Washington, D.C. in the audience that I didn't know was there. I come off stage and she says, I don't care if you hire me or not, I'm taking you to PBS. And so I ended up on PBS. I had three books. It's the only, and this is not a knock on other interviewers, but she is the only one that has read page to page everything I've done, and it was on TV. And so I had that. When the second book came out, there was another, somebody heard about it, and they took me to Good Morning Baltimore. I've been on all of the ABC, NBC, CBS, so PBS, TEDx, all that stuff. And it's because of the books. This was the door opener that I call it elevate and separate. I am not better than, I'm different from. What makes me a little bit different? I say for authors, would you rather work with somebody that read the book or wrote the book?
Mm.
So I have plumbers, I have electricians, I have psychotherapists, I have attorneys, whatever. And the first thing I have them do is write a book. And it's something that can go before you, but it's also something of an accomplishment that how many people actually have ever met an author before? In my world, in your world, we're surrounded by speakers and authors and all this stuff, and so it becomes very normal. In fact, I was on an airplane coming home from a seminar I was doing, and there was an older couple, and they did the general, how are you, and all this, and they said what I did, and I go, I'm a business and sales coach, author, and speaker, and say, oh, that's nice. And it was about 10 minutes later, the lady was in the middle seat, and she leans over, she goes, you're a real life author? I go, yeah. And she goes, I've never sat next to an author before. And this is something I really want to encourage every author. Always carry extra books in your carry-ons. And I said, hey, yeah, and, it was the Beaver book and that I had. And I said, could I gift you a book? I'm not selling it. Could I gift you a book? And she goes, oh, that's nice. And they live in a city about 80 miles away. They were the ones that said, we're going to go on a trip. We need to come to your office and pick up more books. We have all these people that want to I was also on another flight coming home from a speaking circuit, and it was from Daytona to Atlanta. Then I was catching Atlanta back to Denver. It was a 7 o'clock in the morning flight. And all of a sudden, nobody's happy at 7 o'clock in the morning getting on an airplane. Nobody's
No,
happy.
no,
And
no.
normally I'm on an aisle and whatever, but this time I was on a window and everybody was grumpy. I mean, it was just, that time of day. But there was two women coming down the aisle and they were bouncing and having a good time and whatever. And they sat right next to me. And so we're cutting up, doing our thing. And then all of a sudden they were saying, well, who are you? And I said that and ended with the book. And the one woman goes, are you famous? Now, everything in my being said, no, I'm just the kid next door, right? But what came
Mm.
out of my mouth was, well, some people think so. And she reached out into her carry-on and pulled out a camera and said, could I take your picture just in case? And I did one of those, unforgivable things. I had run out of books. And so I said, if you can give me your business card. They were two executives in Humana going to Dallas for a leadership conference. You never know who you're sitting next to.
Hmm.
And so we're about ready to land in Atlanta, and they said, do you have a business card? I go, yeah. They said, would you autograph your business cards for us? I have never, ever, ever had anybody ask me to autograph a business card. I mean, it's crazy what happens, but it really goes back in my mind to the book. Now, again, I don't like writing. Writing to me is painful, but I do it because of the connection and of the validity of that and how it connects with everything I do.
Can you give us a little bit more, Gary, about what's coming for your next book? I know we've talked a little bit about it, and I know it's still it's still, the paint is still fresh, right? But what can we anticipate? Because I know people are really curious about what's coming next for you.
Well, uh, and forgive me, did I talk about how the nudge came with the 4 days?
No, we just
Oh,
heard
okay.
about the nudge. Yeah, let's talk
Oh,
about that.
okay. So it was about 6 months ago. I was sitting here, and the nudge came back. And to me, the nudge is that external power, that source, God, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, that talks to us if we'll listen. And it said, write another book, and I went, no. And for 4 days, it came back in a row, write another book, and I said no every day. On the fifth day, it came back, write another book, and here's the title. And I'm going, okay, you don't have to hit me over the head any bigger than that. Yes, okay. Yes, dear. Whatever that means to people. But, and it gave me the title, and I have all the legal names all tied up now so I can tell people what it is. It's Overcoming You.
Mm.
And one of the things that was unique about it as I started writing the book is that I thought it was about me giving my story to other people for them to just be able to do that, release those breaks, those blocks, those things that are holding them back. And as I started going through it, I was realizing it was given to me for me. And I have a very interesting childhood and other things that I put in really nice boxes and with really nice bows on it. And I'm going, oh, that wasn't very nice. Here I am. So I'm doing it for me and for others. But it's always a very cathartic thing as well. The woman that is my publisher had been bugging me and bugging me and bugging me to do a collaboration book. And so we decided to do an Overcoming You collaboration and the anthology. And and this goes back to the kid next
Mm.
door. I asked her, I said, why would anybody want to do a collaboration book with me? And she goes, why wouldn't anybody want to do a collaboration book with you? So I just, again, I see that ordinary to extraordinary, whatever. And so
Right.
that book is in process. It'll be out for well, the goal is to have it out in September for our business boot camp and we'll release it then. But we're doing the whole idea of that book, both the collaboration and my personal book, is what were the pivot points that allowed you to become who you are today? What were the things that made the difference? And those are the things that are the um, breadcrumbs, if you will, that we can leave behind that other people can follow to get similar results and never going to be the same. But we have so many, well, and we limit the author, and we actually do have space yet. but we're limiting it to a maximum of 15 authors. So it's, and they get more than the, we didn't want it to do something else. We want it to be, when you talked about connection. So we're
Mm,
putting QR codes in each of their chapters so people can reach out to the authors themselves. But we wanted to give them enough words to where it wasn't just an article.
mm.
I've seen other collaboration books where
Yeah,
it's like you could put this in a magazine, not in a book.
yeah.
And so it's a, to where they can get a complete thought out, a complete, story with an action step. And even with creating speeches or creating a book, it's each chapter is a point, story, action step. Point, story, action step is the model. I call it the train model that I created.
Mm.
And it works out really well to get people to take a piece of them that they want to showcase to make people curious to reach out to them. And that's really what we're doing. We're showcasing to be safe, to make people say, oh, that person may not be that bad. Maybe I want to know more.
I like the collaborative nature of you in public at a meeting, you as in with authors and writing. It's just something that I get from you, Gary. This is just who you are. I can't imagine you as any other thing now. Now that I've had this conversation with you and interacted with you, I want to see you at a meeting. I just want to watch and see the people coming to you at breaks and people how you interact with people. I just want to see it. I'm really curious.
Well, it's funny. One of the, and I don't. This is just my style. I don't say it's the right style or whatever.
Right.
But my 3-day events that I produce, I come off the stage, and I have to ask permission to go to the bathroom because I don't hide. I don't go to the back room. I don't put my feet up. I'm with the people. That's what I want to do. I'm there at breakfast. I'm there in the evening for dinner. And to me, that is, well, John Wooden. I don't know. Do you know who John Wooden was? Basketball
No.
coach at UCLA.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
He told his guys, if you go out on the court and don't give 100% and win, you lost. But if you go out on the court and you give 100% and lose, you won. And that's the way I feel whenever I'm at an event or if I travel to an event. I'm there early. I stay late. I'm one of the first ones to get there, one of the last ones, most of the time, the last one to leave. I want to give everything on the court because that's the opportunity. It's not being that celebrity, distancing. If you really want to get to me, you have to pay me a whole bunch of money, that sort of thing. It's never been my style. And so when we have this, and people know that, in fact, it's really funny. People will see me and they don't know my bio or my background, things I've done. And later on, they'll go, if we had read your bio first, we would have been too intimidated to come see you. I go, why? I'm just, and they go, well, look what you did. I go, anything I've done, you can do. So why do we do this, elevated over somebody else and
Yeah.
positioning? It really doesn't matter in my world. And so it's, again, having that where there, we have limited ability to have best friends. I mean, when Facebook came out, everybody's saying, I have 5,000 friends. No, you don't. You have a 5,000 person phone book, maybe. You have no idea who most of the people are. And what does it really mean? How can we, and that goes back to the book, how can we touch one to many? What can we do to, leave little breadcrumbs of what has worked for us and what, whatever experience, wisdom, if you want to call it that. Not that it's ultimate wisdom, but wisdom, something that has worked. Why not share it
Yeah.
to as many people as possible?
Gary, what's your legacy?
People.
Yeah.
It really is people. My youngest son, going through the hip experience, he told me finally, he says, because I've said I will never retire. And they've always given me a hard time about that. Oh, yeah, you're going to retire. You're going to retire. And I go, no, this is who I am, not what I do. And so we at times will have that one word moniker that we adopt for a year. And about 10 years ago, the word came to me, expansion. And that's what I live for, is looking at how to touch as many people as possible, how to learn from as many people as possible. And to be able to have this, well, Will Rogers from the 20s
Yeah.
had a saying, there are no strangers, just friends that I have not met yet. And I live by that. I get on airplanes and I just want to know who that person is beside me.
Mm.
And we'll have a 2 hour flight. And I may say two sentences during the 2 hours, and they get up and they go, "You're such a great conversationalist." And what it means is they're not used to having anybody hear them as a person.
Yeah.
They're kind of this in this board, you know, communal area where they don't have a, they're just a worker bee. They're part of the ants in an anthill, and they're not seen. They're more tools than people. And when somebody truly cares about who they are, and a lot of times we have no idea. Oh, I got to tell you another story.
Mm.
Now you get on me in stories.
Oh,
Uh,
I love it.
I was going to meet another coach down in Dallas, and we were going to go work with a gentleman in Boca Raton. So I was getting on a flight going down to Dallas to meet her, and then we were going to connect and go on over. Well, I never talked bad about an airline, but this airline's initials are AA. But it's one of those things that their planes are always broke. There's always something going wrong. They're never on time. And so I get there, and the plane's not going to get there. It's something wrong with it. I call my travel agent, and she's phenomenal. I don't go to the airline, and she goes, "Okay, I'm going to send you through Charlotte, and you can get done the book about the same time as the other person." I go, "Great." So I go to the gate. It happens to be the gate right next door. And I go, and they go, "No, we have already closed the loading." And so I have my agent in my one ear, and I'm talking. She's telling me exactly what to say, and this agent's getting madder and madder. And I'm just smiling. I'm okay if I go, I don't go, whatever. And finally, another gate agent comes over, bangs out a ticket, and says, "We're holding the plane. You're holding everybody up. Get on there." I'm like, "Okay." Now that doesn't happen. I get on this plane, and it's a stretch, so there's two exits in the middle. And I get to that second one, and the gentleman, the steward, was there, and he goes, "Is that your seat?" And it was an exit row on uh, the an aisle on the exit row. I go, "No, my seat's back." He said, "That's your seat. Sit down." So I'm on the wrong airplane, going to the wrong city in the wrong seat. So I'm sitting there, and I had some books, and it was the Beaver book.
Yeah.
And I needed to autograph and personalize for some people, so I had pulled some out. And there was the middle seat between me and the guy on the window. It was open, and so I was laying the book face up. Flight attendant's coming down the aisle, and she goes, "Oh, I just love animal stories." And so she looks down and she looks at me. She goes, "That's you." I go, "Yeah." I go, "And I have extra book. Can I gift you a book?" She goes, "Nobody has ever offered to give me a book." I go, "I'd be happy to. What's your first name?" And so they go on and they come through with the card, the drinks and the, peanuts and all
Yeah.
that. And I take the book and I give it to her. And she takes it and holds it in her hand like she's holding a baby. And she goes, "Nobody has ever given me a book before." I go, "It's a book. It's 120 pages. It's not the Holy Grail." And she goes, "Here." And she takes a handful of peanuts and pretzels and stuff and throws it in my lap. She goes, "What else? Drinks are on me for the entire flight." I go, "I don't drink." I turned to the guy on the window and I said, he doesn't. She goes, "Oh, okay, food. I'm going to feed you." And I go, "I'm really okay. It's no problem." And finally she throws a hoagie in my lap and whatever. And then they go on. And it's like almost a 3 hour flight between Denver and Charlotte. And for an hour and a half, we never saw another flight attendant until just before landing in Charlotte. And so the steward, and it turned out he had been flying for the airline for 30 years. I stand up to get ready to go, and he goes, "You are amazing." I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "We've been in the back of the airplane reading your book."
Mm.
I get off that airplane, and I call my flight or my travel agent and say, "Where's my gate?" Turned out it was the next gate over. So gate to gate, that never happened. I knew the flight attendant that I had given the book to, that was her home base. And so I was early for my gate. She comes out, she sees me, she comes running over to me, throws her arms around my neck, and hugs me. That doesn't happen.
No.
And she goes, "You don't know how much I needed to hear your story for what I'm going through today." I don't know her name, but I was on the wrong airplane,
Mm,
going to the wrong city, sitting in the right seat or the wrong seat for the right reason.
right.
And it was because of the book.
Mm,
It always sends chills. It just happened just now down my neck. If we are just open to opportunities and have the courage to put this out, that it'll be meaningful for someone.
excellent. Gary, that's a perfect place to end off here. I could keep you on all day and just listen to more and more stories. I love these. These are really great, Gary. Your website, GaryBarnesInternational.com. We'll have a link for that in the show notes. Gary, I wanna give somebody one takeaway today when they're at their next event, meetup, meeting, business meeting, they're at work, they're at a conference. One thing that we can do to be intentional, to put our radar up, if this isn't our natural state to be looking for opportunities to connect with people, what we can do to be more aware of who's around us than being self-aware at our next event, what would you suggest?
It's going to sound a little bit opposite of what I think most people would think I'm going to say. And it's ASK to GET. Be very clear about what your needs are to ask. Because when we ask for help, we're giving other people permission to ask for help. We can be that resource, but we have to be very intentional and very concise about what it is we need help with. And so it's amazing when people come that want to help, then we also know what they can help with, and we can put them in that quote Rolodex that you talked about
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have other resources when other people have this similar situation that they need a connection for. And, the other thing that I would say is, to do to have a way to give something of value to the people you connect with without a hook, without I have the free gift from Gary. It's uh, it is something that is unusual where there's something that is not just pulling people back in and having that sucker trail. And when people really truly know that you care without a reason, and if you're the right solution, great. If you're not the right solution, it's still okay. But do it. Launch and adjust. Do it now. Show up. I gotta say this piece is
Come on.
that I truly believe that everyone is born with a light. Nobody can take it from you. You can't give it away. The only thing that will happen if you don't step into your light is that it will go out. And so by showing up in the light, you're there to be a resource to others. And that's when it's so much fun. And it's very, very humbling. Um, and, it makes the whole trip more worthwhile.
And you don't know what other people are dealing with, and that light can be inspiration, can be a rescue for others who are looking for something, stumbling around in the darkness of whatever's happening in their life. And here it's a attraction. It's something that catches people's attention because it's different. And we're so self-absorbed today, and we're all on our phones and go from meeting to meeting or down the hallway. We don't even acknowledge each other anymore. And here's Gary shining a light, right? And just being out there and facilitating the opportunity to connect. I think that's something we can all be aware of.
Well, I play with people. I tell people if you really want to get out there, is the next time you go into an elevator and they say, "How are you?" I did this to you the first time we talked. Is that you go in and they go, "How are you?" "Well, I'm pretty good now, but my arm fell off this morning. It was bleeding profusely, but I was able to reattach it, but I'm doing great now. How are you?" And they go, "Pretty good." And about 15, 20 seconds, normally later, they go, "What?"
Wait, what was it?
because they're not. We're very superficial. Everybody's bouncing off the atmosphere, and they're not penetrating. In fact, a lot of people, we're not even looking at other people when we're walking down the sidewalk or doing anything. We're in our own little bubble. There's a picture of Times Square, I think it was, where like 1,000 people and everybody was on their phone. We're not connected. We need to get back to that connection.
It's
And
amazing.
writing a book and telling stories, hearing stories. I've met some phenomenal people just by listening to somebody. Do you have time for one more story?
Oh no, I'm right. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. One of my clients, I was teaching about, getting on an airplane and asking questions and whatever. And so she was talking to the gentleman next to her, and she was just listening and enthralled. And finally, at the end, she did not know it. He didn't let on during the flight. He says, "You live in Denver?" She goes, "Yes." He said, "I would like to have you and your husband be my guest at our concert that's coming up at this theater in about 4 months." And she goes, "Okay." He says, "You may not know my face, but I'm a member of the Kingston Trio."
Wow.
It
Wow.
is just one of those things that she became safe. And I mean, those guys don't do that because everybody's wanting something from them,
Right.
and it's just like, mm. So
Right.
she had to call me and she goes, "Doggone it, it works. You're right."
It works. We have the books to prove it. We've got great stories to prove it. And next time you're at an event, and if you have any way of finding out that Gary might be in the room, then you need to seek this gentleman out because you're going to meet a great person who loves to connect people, who is living his legacy. It's one thing to have a legacy to work towards, but to be living your legacy in real time, and sharing great connections with people and always serving others. It's a great example, Gary. I'm so thrilled that it goes beyond an interview and a conversation with you. I now have somebody in my world that I can look to as inspiration because I'm on a similar path. I have a long way to go to catch up because I'm inspired to do more to help more people. That's my goal. I'm here to collect people just like you are. And I think anything we can do to serve others is a good thing in the world today. It's going to stand out as unique, I think. So you're a great example of that, Gary. I'm thrilled to have you on my show.
Well, it's been a privilege to be here, and you're closer than you think.
I like that. It's always about perspective. Gary, thank you so much for being part of the show. Everybody, we'll have links for GaryBarnesInternational.com in the show notes. And there's also a free gift. We'll have a link for that as well from Gary to you. And make sure you go click that link and go check out what's there for you. It's waiting for you. And it's a great idea for you to go check this out. So, Gary, thank you so much for being part of the show.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5. Kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.